La nave espacial humana se estremeció violentamente cuando los rayos de energía alienígena atravesaron sus escudos defensivos. El capitán Jake Morrison se aferró a su asiento de comando mientras las alarmas resonaban por toda la cubierta de mando. Las luces parpadeaban en rojo intenso, creando sombras danzantes en los rostros tensos de su tripulación.
«Reportes de daños», gritó Jake por encima del ruido ensordecedor.
La teniente Lisa Brown tecleó frenéticamente en su consola, sudor corriendo por su frente. Escudos al 30% y descendiendo rápidamente. Los motores principales están sobrecalentándose. Jake observó la pantalla principal donde una flota masiva de naves alienígenas los rodeaba completamente. Sus cascos brillaban con una luz azul eléctrica que pulsaba como un corazón gigante. Nunca había visto tecnología tan avanzada, tan hermosa y aterradora al mismo tiempo. «Señor, están enviando una transmisión», informó el oficial de comunicaciones Ryan Kelly, ajustando los controles con manos temblorosas. «Ponla en pantalla», ordenó Jake, enderezando su uniforme desgarrado. La imagen que apareció dejó sin aliento a toda la tripulación. Una figura femenina de belleza sobrenatural llenó la pantalla. Su piel tenía un tono plateado luminoso que cambiaba sutilmente con cada movimiento. Sus ojos eran grandes y de un color violeta profundo que parecía contener galaxias. Llevaba una corona elaborada que flotaba ligeramente sobre su cabeza, irradiando energía pura. «Humanos», habló la emperatriz con una voz que resonaba como «han invadido nuestro espacio sagrado. Por esta transgresión, su especie será juzgada». Jake se puso de pie lentamente, sintiendo el peso de toda la humanidad sobre sus hombros. Sabía que las próximas palabras que pronunciara determinarían el destino de su mundo natal y de todas las colonias humanas dispersas por la galaxia. «Su Majestad», comenzó Jake con voz firme. «Somos exploradores, no conquistadores. Buscamos conocimiento y amistad entre las estrellas». Los ojos violetas de la emperatriz se entrecerraron ligeramente. Muchas especies han pronunciado palabras similares antes de mostrar su verdadera naturaleza destructiva. ¿Por qué deberíamos creer que los humanos son diferentes? Jake respiró profundamente. En ese momento crítico, recordó las lecciones de historia sobre la diplomacia humana, sobre cómo su especie había superado conflictos internos para unirse y alcanzar las estrellas. «Porque hemos aprendido de nuestros errores, Majestad. Hemos crecido desde nuestras guerras primitivas hasta convertirnos en una especie que valora la vida y la diversidad». La emperatriz permaneció en silencio durante largos segundos, que se sintieron como eternidades. Su flota continuaba rodeando la nave humana, esperando órdenes. Jake podía sentir los corazones acelerados de su tripulación mientras esperaban el veredicto. «Interesante», murmuró finalmente la soberana alienígena. «Sus palabras llevan el peso de la sinceridad, humano, pero las palabras son fáciles de pronunciar y difíciles de cumplir. Entonces permítanos demostrar nuestras intenciones con acciones», respondió Jake sin vacilación. La expresión de la emperatriz cambió sutilmente, mostrando lo que... «Muy bien, capitán Morrison. Acepto su propuesta, pero esta prueba no será simple ni sin riesgos para ustedes». Jake sintió una mezcla de alivio y aprensión. Habían evitado la destrucción inmediata, pero sabía que lo que vendría a continuación podría ser igualmente peligroso. La supervivencia de la humanidad ahora dependía de su capacidad para demostrar que eran dignos de existir entre las estrellas. La comunicación se cortó abruptamente, dejando a la tripulación en un silencio tenso. Las naves alienígenas comenzaron a moverse en formación, creando un corredor que claramente indicaba la dirección que debían seguir. «Capitán», susurró Lisa, «¿qué hacemos ahora?», ya que observó las estrellas más allá de la flota alienígena, pensando en la Tierra y en todos los seres humanos que dependían de las decisiones que tomaría. La nave espacial humana siguió el corredor formado por la flota alienígena hacia un sistema solar desconocido. Jake Morrison mantenía sus ojos fijos en la pantalla principal, donde 3 soles de diferentes colores creaban un espectáculo de luz que bañaba todo el espacio circundante en tonos dorados, azules y violetas. Era hermoso y aterrador a la vez. «Capitán, estamos detectando una estructura masiva en el cuarto planeta», reportó Lisa Brown, su voz teñida de asombro. «Es artificial, señor. Definitivamente construida por manos inteligentes». Jake se acercó a la estación de navegación para ver mejor las lecturas. Lo que vio lo dejó sin palabras. Una ciudad que se extendía por todo el continente, con torres que se elevaban hacia las nubes y puentes de luz que conectaban estructuras flotantes. Era arquitectura pura convertida en arte. «Ryan, ¿alguna comunicación?», preguntó Jake. «Negativo, señor, pero están enviando coordenadas de aterrizaje», respondió Ryan Kelly ajustando los controles. «Parece que quieren que aterricemos en una plataforma específica». La nave descendió lentamente a través de la atmósfera del planeta. Jake notó que el aire era respirable para los humanos, según los sensores. Las lecturas mostraban una gravedad ligeramente menor a la terrestre y una composición. Al aterrizar, Jake seleccionó un pequeño equipo de contacto. «Lisa, Ryan y tú, Mike», señaló al ingeniero Mike Torres, «vendrán conmigo. El resto permanece en la nave y mantiene los motores listos para un despegue de emergencia». La escotilla se abrió con un siseo suave, revelando una plataforma de cristal que reflejaba la luz de los 3 soles, como un prisma gigante. Una comitiva de seres alienígenas los esperaba a cierta distancia. Eran altos y elegantes, con la misma piel plateada brillante que su emperatriz, pero sus vestimentas indicaban diferentes rangos y posiciones. Jake dio el primer paso fuera de la nave, sintiendo inmediatamente la diferencia en la gravedad. Sus botas resonaron sobre el cristal mientras caminaba hacia la comitiva de bienvenida. Sus compañeros lo siguieron manteniendo una formación respetuosa pero alerta. El líder de la comitiva se adelantó. Su apariencia era similar a la de la emperatriz, pero con características más masculinas y una corona más simple. «Capitán Morrison, soy el príncipe Zephyr, consejero de su majestad. La emperatriz Liralei los espera en el Palacio Real». «Es un honor conocerlo, príncipe Zephyr», respondió Jake con una reverencia formal. «Agradecemos su hospitalidad». El príncipe sonrió, una expresión que sorprendentemente se veía muy humana en su rostro alienígena. «Síganme. El transporte los llevará al palacio». El vehículo que los esperaba era una plataforma flotante abierta que se deslizaba silenciosamente sobre la superficie del planeta. Durante el viaje, Jake pudo observar más de cerca la civilización alienígena. Los edificios parecían crecer orgánicamente desde el suelo, con formas curvas y fluidas que desafiaban las convenciones arquitectónicas humanas. Los habitantes que vieron durante el trayecto los observaban con curiosidad, pero no había hostilidad en sus miradas. Niños alienígenas con ojos grandes y brillantes corrían junto al transporte, riendo con voces como campanas de viento. Jake se sintió extrañamente reconfortado por esta muestra de vida normal. «Príncipe Zephyr», comenzó Jake, «¿puedo preguntar qué tipo de prueba tiene en mente su emperatriz?» El príncipe lo miró con expresión pensativa. «La emperatriz Liralei gobierna sobre cientos de especies diferentes en esta galaxia. Capitán Morrison ha visto el ascenso y caída de civilizaciones enteras. Su prueba no será de fuerza o tecnología, sino de carácter». «Entiendo», respondió Jake, aunque en realidad no estaba seguro de qué esperar. El palacio apareció ante ellos como una montaña de cristal y luz. Sus paredes parecían cambiar de color constantemente, reflejando el estado de ánimo de sus habitantes. Torres delgadas se extendían hacia el cielo, conectadas por puentes que parecían hechos de luz solidificada. «Impresionante», murmuró Lisa, su entrenamiento científico luchando con el asombro puro. «Su tecnología está siglos adelante de la nuestra», añadió Mike observando los mecanismos que mantenían las estructuras flotando. Entraron al palacio a través de puertas que se materializaron desde la nada cuando se acercaron. El interior era aún más impresionante que el exterior. Jardines flotantes colgaban en el aire con plantas bioluminiscentes que creaban patrones de luz cambiantes. Fuentes de agua cristalina corrían hacia arriba, desafiando la gravedad. «La emperatriz los recibirá en la cámara del trono», anunció el príncipe Zephyr mientras los guiaba a través de corredores que parecían extenderse infinitamente. Jake sintió que cada paso lo acercaba más a un momento que definiría el futuro de la humanidad. Sus palmas estaban sudorosas, pero mantuvo su compostura exterior. Sabía que mostrar debilidad ahora podría ser desastroso para su misión. The Throne Chamber was a vast crystalline cathedral that seemed to stretch beyond the boundaries of physical space. Jake Morrison felt his breath catch as he stepped through the entrance. The ceiling disappeared into swirling galaxies of light, while the floor beneath their feet was transparent, revealing gardens of luminescent plants that grew in impossible geometries. At the far end of the chamber, the Empress Lirale sat upon a throne that appeared to be carved from a single massive diamond. The throne itself floated several feet above the ground, surrounded by gentle waterfalls that flowed upward into mist. Her presence filled the enormous space with an aura of ancient wisdom and incomprehensible power. Jake and his team approached slowly, their footsteps echoing in the vast space despite the soft crystalline floor. As they drew closer, Jake could see that the Empress was even more magnificent in person than she had appeared on their ship's view screen. Her silver skin seemed to contain moving constellations, and her violet eyes held depths that spoke of millennia of experience.
Captain Morrison, her voice resonated through the chamber without echo.
As if the space itself was designed to carry her words perfectly. You have traveled far from your small blue world to stand before me. Jake stopped at what he judged to be a respectful distance and bowed formally. Your Majesty, we are honored by your audience. We come as representatives of humanity seeking understanding and peaceful coexistence among the stars. The Empress descended from her floating throne, her feet touching the crystalline floor with absolute silence. As she approached, Jake realized she was taller than he had expected, nearly 7 feet in height, but her movements were graceful beyond description. I have observed your species for some time, Captain Morrison, she said, walking slowly around Jake and his companions. Humans are curious creatures. You possess remarkable potential for both creation and destruction. You have built beautiful art and music. Yet you have also waged wars that nearly consumed your own world. Isa Brown tent beside Jake, but he remained calm. That is true, Your Majesty. We do not deny our troubled past. But we have learned from those mistakes. We united our world and reached for the stars precisely because we chose growth over destruction. The Empress posed in front of Jake, studying his face with those ancient violet eyes. Words, Captain Morrison. I have heard similar words from 100 different species over the millennia. Some spoke truth, others spoke lies they even believed themselves. Then test us, Jake said without hesitation. Give us the opportunity to prove our intentions through actions. A slight smile played across the Empress's lips, an expression that somehow seemed both alien and universally recognizable. Very well, but understand that this test will not be what you expect. I will not ask you to demonstrate your weapons or your technology. Instead, I will test something far more precious and revealing. She gestured, and the air around them shimmered. Suddenly, they were no longer in the throne chamber, but standing in what appeared to be a perfect recreation of a human city. Jake recognized it immediately as New Chicago, one of Earth's largest metropolitan areas. This is a simulation based on data we gathered during our observation of your world, the Empress explained. But the people you will interact with here are real beings from various species in my empire, their consciousness temporarily inhabiting these human forms. Jake looked around in amazement. The detail was perfect down to the smallest elements, the smell of street food, the sound of traffic, even the feel of Earth's familiar gravity. What exactly do you want us to do? Live among them for one cycle of your Earth Day, the Empress replied. Interact with them as you would with your own people. Make decisions as you would make them on your home world. Show me not who you claim to be, but who you truly are when you think no one of consequence is watching. Before Jake could ask more questions, the Empress began to fade away like morning mist. Remember, Captain Morrison, they may look human to you, but they are members of dozens of different species from across the galaxy. Their thoughts, their values, their ways of understanding the universe may be completely different from yours. How you treat them will tell me everything I need to know about humanity's readiness to join the galactic community. Jake found himself alone with his team on a street corner that looked exactly like downtown New Chicago. People walked past them, or rather, beings in human form walked past them, going about their daily business. Some were dressed as business executives, others as workers, students, parents with children. "Okay, team," Jake said quietly. "We need to split up and interact naturally with the population. Remember, these aren't actually humans, so don't make assumptions about their motivations or reactions. Lisa, you take the educational district. Mike, check out the industrial sector. Ryan, cover the residential areas. I'll handle the business and government district." They separated, each heading toward their assigned area. Jake walked through the simulated city, marveling at how real everything felt. He decided to start with something simple, helping a woman who appeared to be struggling with heavy shopping bags. "Excuse me, can I help you with those?" he offered. The woman looked up at him with surprise. She appeared to be middle-aged, with kind eyes, but Jake reminded himself that she could be any type of alien consciousness inhabiting this human form. "Oh, that's very kind of you, but I can manage. It's no trouble at all," Jake insisted, gently taking some of the heavier bags. "Where are you headed?" "Host to the subway station," she replied, walking alongside him. "You know, it's refreshing to meet someone so helpful. Most people are too busy to notice when others need assistance." As they walked, Jake learned that the woman was supposedly a teacher who worked with disadvantaged children. She spoke passionately about education and the importance of giving every child opportunities to succeed. Jake found himself genuinely engaged in the conversation, almost forgetting that this was part of a test. At the subway station, the woman thanked him warmly. "You've restored a bit of my faith in human kindness today," she said with a smile that seemed to light up her entire face. Jake continued through the city, stopping to give directions to lost tourists, helping an elderly man cross a busy street, and even mediating a minor dispute between two shop owners. Each interaction felt natural and authentic, and he found himself responding instinctively with the same courtesy and helpfulness he would show to any human. In the business district, he encountered a man in an expensive suit who was berating a street vendor for allegedly taking up too much space on the sidewalk. The vendor, a young woman selling handmade jewelry, looked distressed and intimidated. Jake felt compelled to intervene. "Is there a problem here?" he asked calmly. The businessman turned to him with annoyance. "This vendor is blocking the sidewalk with her illegal setup. She needs to move immediately." Jake looked at the jewelry display, which was neat and took up minimal space. "It looks like she's being pretty respectful of the pedestrian traffic to me. Weighing her jewelry is beautiful work." "This is none of your business," the businessman snapped. "I have important meetings and this obstruction is making me late." "There's plenty of room to walk around," Jake replied evenly. "And maybe being a few minutes late isn't worth making someone else's day difficult." The businessman glared at him for a moment, then stormed off, muttering under his breath. The young vendor looked up at Jake gratefully. "Thank you," she said softly. "I do have a permit, but some people just don't like street vendors." Jake examined your jewelry more closely. The craftsmanship was indeed exceptional, with intricate designs that seemed to incorporate elements from various cultural traditions. "These are amazing. How long have you been making jewelry?" "Since I was a child," she replied, her face brightening. "My grandmother taught me." Each piece tells a story from our family's history. Jake purchased a pendant that reminded him of Earth's constellations, thinking it would make a meaningful gift for his sister when he returned home. The transaction felt normal and pleasant, another successful human interaction. As the day progressed, Jake encountered increasingly complex situations. He helped resolve a neighborhood dispute over noise levels, assisted a family whose car had broken down, and even talked a despondent teenager out of making some poor life choices. In each case, he responded with patience, empathy, and genuine concern for the well-being of others. Meanwhile, his team members were having similar experiences throughout the city. Lisa found herself tutoring struggling students at a community center. Mike volunteered to help repair equipment at a local factory, and Ryan organized a block party that brought together neighbors who had been feuding for months. As the Earth Day cycle neared its end, Jake and his team regrouped at the same street corner where they had started. They compared notes on their experiences, each reporting positive interactions and successful problem-solving situations. It felt completely natural, Lisa observed. I kept forgetting these weren't actually humans. Same here, Mike agreed. I just responded to problems the way I always do. Try to help however I can. Ryan nodded thoughtfully. I think that might have been the point. To see how we'd act when we thought we were just being ourselves. As if summoned by their conversation, the cityscape began to fade around them, and they found themselves back in the Empress's throne chamber. Lirali materialized before them, her expression unreadable. Interesting, she said simply, beginning to pace around them once again. Your team interacted with representatives from 47 different species today, Captain Morrison. Beings whose fundamental nature and worldview are completely alien to your own. Jake waited, not sure whether this was leading to praise or condemnation. The Zephyrian teacher, whose bags you carried, values order and efficiency above all else, the Empress continued. In her culture, accepting help from strangers is considered a sign of weakness. Jekchi later reported that your kindness made her reconsider some of her people's harsher customs. Jake blinked in surprise. He had no idea he had been interacting with someone from such a different cultural background. The street vendor was a Christech artisan, the Empress went on. Her people are natural traders who expect aggressive negotiation in all transactions. Your straightforward purchase and genuine appreciation for her work was something completely outside her experience. The Empress paused in front of Jake. Every being you encounter today will return to their home worlds with stories about humans who showed unexpected kindness, fairness, and respect. You treated them not as you thought they wanted to be treated, but as you genuinely believed they deserved to be treated. Jake felt a surge of hope, but tried to keep his expression neutral. This is remarkable because in all my millennia of testing species, the Empress continued, most failed this examination. They either try to impress by showing off their strength and intelligence, or they become paralyzed by trying to figure out the correct response to each situation. Very few species simply behave authentically and let their natural character guide their actions.
She stopped directly in front of Jake, those ancient violet eyes seeming to look into his soul.
La emperatriz y reina alienígena oyó mis palabras y respondió suave. Entonces te acepto, humano. La respuesta suave de la emperatriz resonó en la cámara del trono, como música celestial. Jake Morrison sintió que sus rodillas casi se doblaban por el alivio, pero mantuvo su compostura mientras procesaba las implicaciones de esas palabras. La humanidad había sido aceptada en la comunidad galáctica. Su Majestad respondió Jake con una reverencia profunda. Es un honor inmenso recibir su aceptación. ¿Qué significa esto exactamente para la humanidad y nuestro lugar entre las estrellas? La emperatriz Liralei sonrió, una expresión que transformó su rostro majestuoso en algo sorprendentemente cálido y maternal. Significa, Capitán Morrison, que su especie ha demostrado poseer las cualidades más raras en el universo. Humildad genuina, compasión instintiva y la capacidad de tratar a otros seres con dignidad sin esperar recompensa. Gesticuló con su mano y las paredes cristalinas de la cámara se volvieron transparentes, revelando una vista panorámica del planeta y el espacio circundante. Cientos de naves de diferentes diseños y tamaños flotaban en órbita, cada una representando una especie diferente del Imperio Galáctico. Cada una de esas naves pertenece a una civilización que ha pasado por la misma prueba que ustedes enfrentaron hoy, explicó la emperatriz. Algunas la superaron fácilmente, otras lucharon durante años antes de encontrar su camino, pero muy pocas la pasaron tan naturalmente como lo hizo su equipo. Lisa Brown se acercó un paso, su curiosidad científica superando su nerviosismo. Su Majestad, ¿podría preguntarle cuántas especies han fallado la prueba? La expresión de la emperatriz se entristeció ligeramente. Demasiadas, querida niña. Demasiadas. Algunas fueron destruidas por su propia arrogancia. Otras se retiraron a sus mundos natales, demasiado orgullosas para cambiar sus maneras. Unas pocas fueron redirigidas hacia pursuits más apropiados para sus temperamentos. Jake sintió un escalofrío al imaginar qué podría significar esa última categoría, pero decidió no preguntar. Sin embargo, continuó la emperatriz, su tono volviéndose más esperanzador. La humanidad ha mostrado algo extraordinario, no solo trataron a los demás con respeto, sino que lo hicieron instintivamente. sin cálculos o estrategias ocultas. Actuaron desde el corazón. El príncipe Zephyr se materializó junto a la emperatriz, su expresión llena de curiosidad y aprobación. Majestad, las especies están enviando mensajes de felicitación. Al parecer, los representantes que interactuaron con los humanos han estado compartiendo sus experiencias, y el consenso es unánimemente positivo. Príncipe Zephyr prepara la ceremonia de bienvenida. La humanidad será formalmente introducida al Consejo Galáctico dentro de 3 rotaciones. Jake sintió que su corazón se aceleraba. Consejo Galáctico, Su Majestad, el cuerpo gobernativo que supervisa las relaciones entre todas las especies civilizadas en esta galaxia, explicó la emperatriz. Como miembros del Consejo, la humanidad tendrá voz en decisiones que afectan a billones de seres sensibles. Es una responsabilidad inmensa. Mike Torres, quien había permanecido callado durante la mayor parte de la conversación, finalmente habló. Su Majestad, ¿qué se espera de nosotros? ¿Cómo podemos preparar a nuestra especie para tal responsabilidad? La emperatriz se acercó a Mike estudiando su rostro con esos ojos antiguos y sabios. Esa es precisamente. Muchas especies nuevas preguntan inmediatamente qué beneficios recibirán del Consejo. Ustedes preguntan sobre sus responsabilidades. Gesticuló nuevamente, y hologramas comenzaron a aparecer alrededor de ellos, mostrando escenas de diferentes mundos y civilizaciones. Verán, el universo es vasto y lleno de maravillas, pero también de peligros. Hay fuerzas en la galaxia que amenazan la vida misma, razas conquistadoras que consumen planetas enteros, fenómenos cósmicos que pueden extinguir sistemas solares, y entidades de energía pura, que ven a los seres biológicos como poco más que curiosidades temporales. Los hologramas mostraron imágenes terrificantes, flotas de naves negras como la noche devorando estrellas, tormentas de energía que convertían planetas habitables en rocas muertas, y criaturas de luz que manipulaban la realidad misma. El Consejo Galáctico existe para proteger la vida sensible contra estas amenazas. Cada especie miembro contribuye con sus fortalezas únicas. Los Crystalline proporcionan tecnología avanzada. Los Zephirians ofrecen sabiduría y mediación. Los Helix contribuyen con capacidades de combate cuando la diplomacia falla. ¿Y qué puede ofrecer la humanidad?, preguntó Jake, genuinamente curioso. La emperatriz sonrió ampliamente, algo que hemos estado buscando durante milenios. La capacidad única de unir a especies muy diferentes bajo propósitos comunes. Su especie tiene un don para la empatía que trasciende las barreras culturales y biológicas. Ryan Kelly se adelantó. Su Majestad, hemos visto evidencia de eso hoy, pero ¿cómo puede estar segura de que es una característica de toda nuestra especie y no solo de nuestro pequeño grupo? Una pregunta excelente, respondió la emperatriz. Hemos estado observando la Tierra durante décadas, hemos visto cómo los humanos responden a desastres naturales, ayudando a extraños sin consideración por raza o nacionalidad. Hemos observado cómo crean arte que habla a emociones universales. Hemos notado cómo sus historias más populares casi siempre involucran temas de sacrificio por otros y la búsqueda del bien común. Los hologramas cambiaron para mostrar escenas de la Tierra, equipos de rescate trabajando después de terremotos, médicos voluntarios tratando refugiados, artistas creando obras que celebraban la diversidad humana. Por supuesto, añadió la emperatriz, la humanidad no es perfecta, ninguna especie lo es, pero ustedes han demostrado la capacidad de crecer y cambiar, de aprender de sus errores y esforzarse por ser mejores. Jake sintió una oleada de orgullo por su especie. Su Majestad, ¿qué pasos debemos tomar para preparar oficialmente a la humanidad para la membresía en el Consejo? Primero, dijo la emperatriz, deben regresar a la Tierra y comenzar a preparar a su gente gradualmente para el contacto con otras especies. Segundo, estableceremos centros de intercambio cultural en varios mundos donde los humanos pueden aprender sobre diferentes especies, y viceversa. El entendimiento mutuo es crucial para el éxito de cualquier alianza intergaláctica. Tercero, comenzarán entrenamientos especializados para diplomáticos humanos que servirán como embajadores en diferentes mundos. Esto requerirá no solo habilidades lingüísticas, sino también comprensión profunda de culturas y psicologías alienígenas. Lisa se adelantó nuevamente. Su Majestad, ¿cuánto tiempo tenemos para prepararnos? El tiempo no es un factor limitante. respondió la emperatriz. Algunas especies han tomado siglos para integrarse completamente. Lo importante es que el proceso se haga correctamente, no rápidamente. El príncipe Zephyr se acercó a la emperatriz. Majestad, las delegaciones están llegando para la ceremonia de bienvenida. Representantes de 200 especies han confirmado su asistencia.
La emperatriz asintió.
Excelente, Capitán Morrison. ¿Estarían dispuestos a participar en la ceremonia? Será una oportunidad para que la humanidad sea formalmente presentada a la comunidad galáctica. Jake miró a su equipo viendo confirmación en sus ojos. Sería un honor, Su Majestad. Maravilloso, respondió la emperatriz. Pero primero, hay algo más que deben saber. La membresía en el Consejo no es solo un privilegio, es también una promesa solemne. Prometen proteger la vida sensible en todas sus formas, defender a los débiles contra los poderosos y trabajar por el bien común de toda la galaxia. La seriedad de sus palabras llenó la cámara como una presencia física. Jake entendió que esta no era solo diplomacia, era un juramento sagrado que afectaría el destino de la humanidad durante generaciones venideras. Entendemos completamente, Su Majestad, respondió Jake con toda la solemnidad que pudo reunir. La humanidad acepta estas responsabilidades con humildad y determinación. La emperatriz DAR LIKE extendió sus brazos y una luz suave comenzó a emanar de su forma. Entonces que comience el siguiente capítulo en la historia de la humanidad. The ceremony of welcome was unlike anything Jake Morrison could have imagined in his wildest dreams. The throne chamber had expanded impossibly, its crystalline walls stretching outward to accommodate thousands of beings from across the galaxy. The ceiling had become a living aurora of colors that shifted and danced to reflect the emotional states of the assembled delegates. Jake and his team stood on a raised platform beside Empress Lirali, looking out at the most diverse gathering of intelligent life ever assembled. There were beings of pure energy that flickered like living flames, massive creatures that resembled walking mountains, delicate butterfly-like entities that left trails of sparkling dust in the air, and countless others that defied description. Citizens of the galaxy, the Empress's voice carried clearly to every corner of the vast space. We gather today to welcome a new species into our confederation. The humans of Earth have demonstrated the qualities we value most: compassion, integrity, and the wisdom to put collective good above individual gain. A wave of harmonious sounds rose from the assembly, not applause exactly, but rather the unique way each species expressed approval. The result was a symphony of clicks, chimes, roars, whispers, and tones that somehow blended into beautiful music. Prince Zephyr stepped forward, carrying what appeared to be a spear of contained starlight. Captain Morrison, this is the Orb of Worlds, a symbol of unity among all member species of the Galactic Council. Each world that joins our confederation adds their essence to this artifact, creating a permanent bond between civilizations. Jake accepted the orb carefully. It was warm to the touch and seemed to pulse with the rhythm of countless heartbeats. As he held it, images flashed through his mind, brief glimpses of hundreds of different worlds, each beautiful and unique in its own way. What do I need to do? Jake asked quietly. Simply speak the name of your world and your intent to join our confederation, the Empress replied. The orb will do the rest. Jake lifted the orb above his head, feeling the weight of history in his hands. Earth sighed clearly, his voice carrying across the assembled multitude. We join this confederation with open hearts and minds, ready to learn, to contribute, and to protect the precious gift of life wherever it may flourish. The orb flared with brilliant light, and suddenly Jake could feel something incredible happening. It was as if his consciousness was briefly connected to every other being in the chamber. For just a moment, he experienced the universe through thousands of different perspectives, the mathematical poetry that the Christics perceive in quantum mechanics, the deep emotional currents that guided the empathic collective, the fierce protective instincts of the warrior species, and the quiet wisdom of races so ancient they had forgotten their own origins. When the connection faded, Jake found tears streaming down his face. He had never felt so small and so connected at the same time. The universe was vast beyond imagination, but every conscious being in it was part of something magnificent and interconnected. Welcome, humans of Earth, the Empress said, her voice filled with warmth and pride. You are now part of the greatest adventure in galactic history. The celebration that followed lasted for hours. Jake and his team were introduced to representatives from dozens of species, each sharing stories, knowledge, and expressions of friendship. They learn about worlds where entire civilizations live in the branches of mile-high trees, ocean planets where intelligence had evolved in the form of vast collective consciousness, and desert worlds where beings of living crystal sang mathematical equations that could alter the structure of reality itself. Lisa Brown was in her element, discussing scientific principles with beings whose understanding of physics made human knowledge seem like elementary school mathematics. She discovered that faster-than-light travel wasn't accomplished by moving through space, but by convincing space itself to reshape around the traveler. The implications made her head spin with excitement. Mike Torres found himself in deep conversation with the chief engineer of a species that built their starships by growing them like living organisms. The technical challenges of biological spacecraft fascinated him, and he began sketching designs for hybrid biomechanical systems that could benefit both civilizations. Ryan Kelly was amazed to learn that many species had developed forms of communication that went far beyond language. Some shared emotions directly, others communicated through changes in their bioelectric fields, and a few could transmit entire concepts instantaneously through quantum entanglement. As the celebration wound down, Empress Lita Leigh approached Jake privately. "Captain Morrison, there is one final matter we must discuss before you return to Earth." Jake felt a flutter of concern. "Yes, Your Majesty. The process of integrating humanity into the galactic community will not be without challenges," she said seriously.
There will be species who question whether humans are truly ready for this responsibility. There will be tests, both subtle and overt, of your species' commitment to our shared values.
"What kind of tests?" Jake asked. "Some will be opportunities to demonstrate human ingenuity and problem-solving abilities," the Empress explained. "Others will test your species' commitment to protecting weaker civilizations from stronger ones. A few may require humans to make difficult sacrifices for the greater good." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "We understand that membership in this council comes with obligations as well as privileges." "Good," the Empress replied. "But there's something else. In approximately one solar cycle, this galaxy will face its greatest threat in millions of years. An ancient enemy is stirring. Beings of such power and malevolence that they nearly destroyed all life in this galaxy once before." The weight of her words settled over Jake like a cold blanket. "What kind of enemy?" "They call themselves the Devourers," the Empress said, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. "They consume not just matter and energy, but consciousness itself. They feed on the thoughts, memories, and souls of entire civilizations. They were defeated long ago by an alliance of thousands of species working together, but the victory came at an unimaginable cost." "And you believe they're returning?" "Our deepest space monitors have detected gravitational anomalies at the galaxy's edge that match their signatures," the Empress confirmed. "If they are indeed returning, every species in this galaxy will need to stand together or face extinction." "How can humanity help?" Jake asked without hesitation. "We're barely spacefaring compared to most of the species here." The Empress smiled, but it was a sad expression. "That is exactly why humanity may be crucial to our survival, Captain Morrison. Sometimes the most advanced civilizations become trapped by their own sophistication. They overthink problems that require simple, direct solutions." She gestured toward the chamber where the celebration was still continuing. "These species have incredible technology, vast knowledge, and powers that border on the divine. But many of them have lost touch with the basic drive to survive at any cost, to fight with desperate creativity when all sophisticated strategies fail." "And you think humans still have that drive?" Jake asked. "I know you do," the Empress replied firmly. "Your species has survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters that would have eliminated most civilizations. You've learned to adapt, to innovate under pressure, and to find hope in impossible situations. Those may be exactly the qualities we need." Jake felt the enormous weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Not only was humanity being welcomed into a galactic confederation, but they might also be called upon to help save it from an unimaginable threat. Your Majesty, when you say 1 solar cycle, approximately 1 Earth year, the Empress clarified, perhaps a bit longer, perhaps less. The Devourers don't move according to predictable schedules. That's not much time to prepare our entire species for something like this, Jake said, his mind already racing through the logistics. No, it isn't, the Empress agreed, which is why you must return to Earth immediately and begin the preparation process. Humanity must learn not only about other species and galactic politics, but also about warfare on a scale world has never imagined. She handed Jake a crystal device that pulsed with soft blue light. This contains everything your leaders will need to know about coming threat, as well as detailed information about defensive technologies that Earth can begin developing immediately. Jake accepted the device, feeling its light warmth through his gloves. Will we have help? Will other species share their military technologies with us? Of course, the Empress replied, the survival of all depends on the survival of each. Every member species will contribute what they can to the common defense. But remember, Captain Morrison, it was humanity's natural qualities that earned them a place here, not their technology. The Empress placed a hand on Jake's shoulder, and he felt a surge of strength and confidence flow through him. I have great faith in your species, Captain Morrison. You have already proven that humans can rise to extraordinary challenges when the stakes are high enough. As they rejoined the celebration, Jake looked around at the incredible diversity of life surrounding him. These beings had welcomed humanity with open arms, and now humanity would have the chance to stand with them against a threat that could end consciousness itself in their galaxy. The path ahead would be difficult beyond imagination. But for the first time since receiving the Empress's acceptance, Jake felt truly ready for whatever challenges awaited them among the stars.